Welcome back to SB Nation. I'm Dan Rubenstein, of course, joined by our own Bomani Jones in North Carolina, talking about the UNC discipline that was levied recently. We had an agent gaining access to players, all sorts of scholarship bans now. It's sort of a weird situation now. Benefits were involved, postseason ban, scholarships gone, show cause for John Blake, the defensive line coach, at the center of all of this. Does the punishment, and that's sort of in quotes, fit the crime, also sort of in quotes?
Well, I mean, you don't have a standard. The NCAA really has little basis for these things, so it's kind of hard to say what that is. What you can do, though, is kind of look at the punishment that, say, USC received, you look at Ohio State, and of all these different schools that have gotten in trouble, at least according to my understanding of what bothers the NCAA, having John Blake on the payroll under the employ of an agent, you would think that that would be bigger than just about everything else. And I know everybody's run the argument that, well, we didn't know that John Blake was on the agent's payroll. Yeah, who cares whether you knew or not? You're supposed to know these sorts of things. And they didn't. So since there's no basis, no precedent used in the NCAA's decision-making process the way they tell it, I guess it fits. But, you know, I think there are people at different places who have cause to look at this like, I guess.
And when you look at North Carolina themselves right now, and they've hired Larry Fedora, new head coach, to what extent does this cripple them at all in the short term, long term? How does this affect them?
Well, the margin for error on offering scholarships, of course, goes all the way down. This isn't a big-time program in a big-time state where you just have so many players that you can randomly just go grab 25 and know that 15 of them are going to be decent. They're going to have to figure it out. The thing about figuring out, though, is that if we learned anything from Lane Kiffin, and if we're going to bring it up, Butch Davis from his time in Miami, you figure out how to make those scholarship limits work in many different ways that are perfectly above board. So we're going to find out, I think, how creative Fedora and his staff are, because this can be overcome.
And you mentioned the word precedent and how sort of little it means with the NCAA, but is there anything to glean as we look towards investigations that are ongoing with Oregon and Miami? Anything you can take from this or no?
Yeah, send out the kids if you got to and tell on yourself. That's the only way that I can imagine that the NCAA handled North Carolina the way that it did. Send out the kids and tell on yourself. That's what Carolina did. They sold out the kids. There are some other points where you hear people around here say that the university really wanted to help them out. And I believe that they wanted to, but when rubber met the road, you sell out the kids. And then after you sell them out, you get in there and you tell on yourself as best as you can, and then hope the NCAA appreciates the fact that you told on yourself, because if we have a nation full of people that tell on themselves, their understaffed enforcement body can do a lot more work.
So you're saying tell on yourself.
Now, that is what they want you to do. They want to come in, they want to kick in the door, and they want you to tell on yourself. It began with the Des Bryant suspension and it's carried all the way through.
All right, Bomani Jones, of course, from Bomani and Jones, the show that we can see every week on SBNation.com and YouTube.com. What can we expect this week?
Oh, we're going to have Randy Moss's last Ustream and the Hader Gallagher guide to the NCAA tournament.
I love it. Once again, Bomani Jones, SB Nation. I'm Dan Rubenstein, and we will see you soon.